Well, welcome, committee. Before I call the meeting to order, I want to announce that we have individuals attending remotely as well as on site. All participants joining by phone should mute their phones when not speaking to avoid background noise. During the meeting, please make sure that you announce yourself by name and title every time you speak so the public that is participating knows who is speaking. This is critical given the number of remote participants and current guidance from the Kansas Attorney General. Please be sure you are speaking into a microphone to ensure your comments are heard and an accurate record is made. I will now call this meeting to order. This is a special session for December 14th, 2023, and I'd ask the clerk to please call roll.
Commissioner, I'll announce the meeting. You are hereby notified that I have called a special session of the Unified Government of Wyandotte County, Kansas City, Kansas, to be conducted in a hybrid format on Thursday, December 14th, 2023 at 5 p.m. for a special session regarding a winter weather update in the 5th floor conference room of the Municipal Office Building, 701 North 7th Street, Kansas City, Kansas. Roll call: Burrows.
Here.
Townsend, we have an absence memo. Burns.
Here.
Ramirez. Hill. Here. Kane. Here. Lopez.
Here.
Stites. Davis.
Here.
Bynum. Here. Garner.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. This evening, we will be hearing a presentation from a Public Works Department regarding a winter weather update. I'll recognize David Johnston, our County Administrator, for remarks and presentation by staff.
Well, I think as always, people need to be reminded that the Public Works Department has the responsibility to keep a safe environment on our streets throughout the entire year, but really get special attention during the winter when sometimes travel is challenging due to snow and ice conditions. But we have men and women in our department that respond and to try to keep this environment safe, even in those conditions. So we're having an opportunity today to hear from Jeff Fisher, our Executive Director of our Public Works Department, and his staff who actually do the work on what are the protocols, how you approach it, what do you do? So, Mr. Fisher.
That's right. Thanks for setting that up, David. We have done this annually, normally in November for a few different reasons, though, especially with new commissioners coming online. We thought we'd wait until this evening to do that. Fortunately, we've only had one snow event. But as David said, we typically just cover to inform you how we operate during winter weather, so you're better able to help your constituents if they have any questions or concerns. And as some of you know, Vincent Bellacci was our streets manager. He has moved to the Parks and Rec Department. And in the meantime, we have elected to use two interim managers. I have Dwayne Smith on my right and Eric Nobert, two chairs over. And so they are leading the streets division as we go through the interview process. And they are managing things very well so far. So I'm going to hand the presentation over to them.
Hello, Commissioners. My name is Dwayne Smith. Can everybody hear me okay? Okay. My name is Dwayne Smith, Operations Supervisor, acting interim for Streets Management. Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
And sorry about that, Dwayne. You good?
Dwayne Smith, Operations Supervisor for the Street Department, acting interim for the Street Management position.
And I'm Eric Nobert. I'm an operations superintendent in the street division and also the interim streets manager.
We thank you guys for the opportunity to be up here to speak and present today. Without further ado, we'll go ahead and get started. So as you can see, the website here, we encourage everyone to visit it. They want to find the information that we're going to present today. Everything could be found on wacokck.org/snow. And without further ado, we'll go ahead and get started. A couple quick facts. We work quickly, safety, with safety being our primary concern. We want to make sure that we are able to respond quickly to restore traction to the roads in a storm event. Our target is to clear our hot routes and secondaries within 12 hours after the last snow has fallen. After that, we would jump into our neighborhood routes These are usually cleared within 24 to 48 hours after a snow event, after the last snow has fallen. As you can see, broken down right here is a hot route, secondary and neighborhoods. This is the storm operation breakdown, and I'll elaborate a little bit about that. So our hot routes are our main streets, Leavenworth Road, Parallel, State Avenue. You can typically find your hospitals, fire stations, and police stations along these routes. Our secondaries being the connecting streets outside of and inside of the neighborhoods that feed onto our main roads. We also call those through streets as well. And finally will be our neighborhoods, where our local residents, those are our residential streets and cul-de-sacs. As you can see here, well, first I would like to inform everyone, every storm is different. No storm is the same. So we react to each storm in a different way. This is a breakdown right here, how we choreograph our storms from a minor, moderate, heavy, and emergency situation. So our a minor could be a trace to 1 inches, so like elevated surfaces to 1 inch of snow accumulation on the roadway. At that point, we would monitor heavily and bring crews in as needed. A moderate snowstorm is going to be from 1 to 3 inches of snow accumulation on the roadway. At that point, we would probably have crews in treating and possibly plowing our roads. A heavy situation will probably be between 3 to 6 inches of snow accumulation on the roadway. At that point, we would definitely be plowing and focusing in on our hot routes and secondaries to make sure those are clean and clear. Emergency situation is definitely going to be unique. We don't have a lot of those. We did have one last year and we handled it accordingly. That'll be 6 inches or more of accumulation on the roadway. That's pretty much all hands on deck. And then we would, in some cases or unique situations, we would reach out to our neighboring departments for assistance at that point. As you can see, this graph here kind of breaks down the poundage of salt, how salt works. So as you can see, the graph starts at about 30 degrees Fahrenheit. 1 pound of salt will melt about 37 pounds of ice. And as you can see, salt becomes ineffective as the temperature drops. And this is very important to note that salt isn't always the answer. Even though a lot of people think that, salt is not always the answer. And roughly 15 degrees Fahrenheit or below, salt becomes ineffective. That's when we would rely on our sand to help us to be able to regain traction in certain, in certain instances. Keep in mind too, a fun fact that packed snow can actually provide some sort of traction. Just a little tidbit there. Another thing is to understand that by us understanding the strengths and weaknesses of the salt and how it helps us key in on wasted resources. With the snow being non-effective, we can definitely not put down as much as, just wasted material. And ultimately that saved tax dollars. And I'm going to turn this over to Eric.
As stated before, I'm Eric Nover. I'm an operations superintendent with street division and interim street manager. Salt brine, that's something new to our operations this year. We began construction and finished construction of our facility last year. It's simply a mix of salt and water. With our facility where you can create the salt brine in-house, it lowers our cost overall with our salt brine. It can improve our safety on our road surfaces. We can get out in advance of a storm, pre-treat. The treatment stays on the roads. I'm sure many of you have seen KDOT doing it. We're going to kind of follow the lead on that. The advanced application, you use less salt, and so it's a little cheaper to do, and it reduces our damage to our concrete and metal infrastructure that we have around the city. Here's a picture of a plow that we've used. We've collaborated with schools throughout the city over the last 4 years. And this year it was Piper Middle School's turn. They painted a plow for us. It's a very nice looking plow for us. This truck is stationed in that area. So as it works, if there is school or the kids in, they're out in the yard playing, they can see that plow and be proud of the work they've done. They did a very good job. Speaking of collaboration, often we're asked, how can the residents help with us, combating a snow situation? These are some just simple reminders. We ask that people avoid driving during storms if they can. Avoid parking on the street where that's feasible. That they double check and secure their mailboxes so that the snow doesn't knock them over. We ask that when shoveling your driveway, please shovel everything to the right. And then we want to just say, don't play in large snow piles or sled in the street because you never know what might be coming down the road. We have some frequently asked questions here, and I'm going to have Dwayne help me answer these. Dwayne, why isn't that snow truck plowing the street?
Well, depending on the snowstorm, that truck could be waiting. We could be in the waiting process, waiting for a storm to pass. That truck could be headed to go reload with material, or that truck could be headed to another area just to tidy up another part of the city. And Eric, I'm going to ask you, why is snow blocking my driveway?
The simple answer is we pushed it there. It can be helped by shoveling your driveway to the right or delaying shoveling your driveway until we've plowed the road. That'll help avoid those pushed in driveways. Dwayne, what knocked my mailbox over?
Well, of course, you know that is just the snow. People should be aware that every mailbox should, if it's installed properly, should be able to withstand the force of a snow rolling off of a plow. So it's we definitely encourage our residents to around the snow winter seasons to double check their mailbox to make sure that they're secure and make sure that they're installed properly. And lastly, Eric, why are they not applying salt to the roads?
Similar to the first answer of the first question, if the weather does not allow us to treatment to be effective, we may quit treating the roads at that time and simply concentrate on plowing. Also, the truck could just be moving back and forth between its routes to get reloaded with salt. We appreciate the time for this presentation to everyone, all the commissioners and Mr. Johnston. We'd be happy to answer any questions you may have at this time.
Committee questions?
Lopez? Commissioner Lopez here. I just have a quick question about, I know salt can be costly. What about, a lot of places use calcium chloride. It's 93%. It seems to be more cost effective than salt.
Answer that. You want me to answer that? Typically it's more corrosive. It works at a colder temperature, so it is effective at that rate. The slide Dwayne had with the graph, that graph would extend far colder, but it's far more corrosive and is in a liquid form. So it's a little harder for us to spread along all the streets.
According to other cities like Shawnee or Johnson, other places went to that because salt was more corrosive than the chloride, than the calcium chloride.
All the substances are corrosive.
Right.
It's all on how much you put on the ground. And that's kind of why we've transitioned to this brine system before a storm to try and help our infrastructure last a little longer.
Okay.
Commissioner Bynum?
Thank you, Mayor Pro Tem Burrows. I would ask that Deputy Administrators House and Cobbins not listen. So just cover your ears. And I think for the benefit of our new commissioners, I'm going to forward all of my snow complaints to Commissioner Hill, Commissioner Burns, and Commissioner Lopez, because I think that it would be really good for them and a really good way for them to sort of get indoctrinated into public service come snow season. So I'm going to give them all of my snow complaints, just so you're aware.
Noted.
Thank you, but thank you.
Any other questions or comments? Commissioner Davis?
Thank you, Mayor Pro Tem. Thank you all. This is a really, really great presentation. Just kind of two questions. What is and it's okay if you don't have an exact answer now. What is the estimated budget that we have for snow removal?
I don't know that offhand, Commissioner.
Gotcha. Well, that's fine. If you all can find that information later on. I'm just curious as to what the investment is and what we were making. The other question I had was, if I remember correctly, last time we either had a conversation or this was presented, I don't remember. There was kind of a process where certain roads were prioritized. Like, for example, like you would do a cul-de-sac last, or certain areas that weren't as dense would come a little bit later. It was kind of greatest impact. Are we still doing that? Like, what's the strategy? Because you can't plow all of them all at the same time, right? And we get complaints about some areas not being plowed at all. So what's the strategy, right? There's a large snowstorm, it comes. Where should we expect to see plows on the street first in the community?
So as I explained, excuse me, as I explained earlier, so that's why we break our operations up into hot routes, which would be the main streets. We have secondaries, which will be the through streets, and our neighborhoods, which would be our residential areas, cul-de-sacs. In a situation where somebody's actually out plowing, we want to make sure that we're going curb to curb. A cul-de-sac may get hit last. That way, the idea is to be able to clean the streets and not plow as much up in a person's property or driveway, covering their driveway or mailbox as possible. We do try our best not to. It's not the case every time, but we definitely do try.
Gotcha.
But like I said, our hot routes are going to be our primary streets first. They're going to get touched first because we have a lot of those are our main, the busiest roads. They get the most volume, right? So our hospitals, fire stations, police stations are typically found on a lot of those hot routes. We want to make sure that if there's ever an emergency, that the first responders can get around safely.
Thank you. I just wanted to reiterate that just for the public. So this is kind of an order, right, of prioritization that we are looking at. So if you're waiting or you don't see it or what have you, it's probably because our staff is working on, right, the hot routes first and then the others. Thank you.
And that's generally best practice standard across the country.
Commissioner Burns?
Yes, if there was a major storm coming or any type of storm, who do you deal with that forecasts for you to give you an idea about how much is coming or not? I don't think we can always depend on the TV. It's always the end of the world.
So we pay for the weather service whether or not, and they keep us up to date. We get daily and half day breakdowns, even when it's not inclement weather. And then they're there for us all times, all 24 hours of the day if we need to make a phone call and ask there's been a change in a forecast or something else has come up. We do use the news. I mean, we all watch the news and see the weather, but whether or not is who we typically rely on for that.
We also utilize other services as well. You know, Weather Underground, we use them as well. Different resources, so that way we can kind of make sure that we're as accurate as possible.
Commissioner Lopez here. Notice that our trucks they have, I believe, live pumps on them. And have you guys ever considered those snow blower attachments that go on there? That seem to hit like by the time you get to your secondaries, the snow's already packed it pretty good, and the snow blower attachments seem to get that hammered out better.
Historically, I can't answer that question if we have looked at snow blower attachments for the truck. I know. I think during a large snowstorm 15 years ago or so, they purchased a snow blower and it never ran. So it was something they purchased and it was kind of a waste. So it was sold off and we bought some other equipment that were more effective.
Anybody else? Commissioner Burns, did you have any more comments? I'm sorry, I didn't mean to jump over if you had more questions.
No.
Okay. I would just like to say, gentlemen, that Morris, south of the river, we have a tremendous amount of steep hills that our school buses traverse, no sidewalks, and the roads drop off pretty steep on each side. Your crew does a very good job of keeping those roads cleared over there. I'm appreciative of it just because I know how steep those hills are and what danger it puts those school buses in if they're not. And I appreciate the fact that you're over there. I know it's probably not a hot route, but it's probably a secondary route that they do really do a good job over there. And I just wanted to ensure that you pass that on to the crew, that the Morris community is very appreciative of the fact that they're over there clearing them steep hills down for the school buses.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, we appreciate that. We also do, when we pre-treat, we pre-treat our hills as well. We treat those as hot routes too. Those can be dangerous, so.
Yeah. And I will state that actually the roads are wider now, thanks to the fact that Morris was resurfaced a majority of the community. So the roads are at least 3 to 4 feet wider, which makes it a lot easier on the traffic flow over there where everybody's not trying to stay in the middle at the top of the hill and there's a little room to spread out. So I do appreciate all the work that's been done over there this past year. Administrator Johnston, would you like to say any words before we close?
No, just know that when that department needs to respond because of a snow condition, they're going to be on top of it.
Great. Well, thank you for the presentations. There's no more comments or questions. I would entertain a motion to adjourn.
Fine, I'm so moved.
We have a motion and a second. That's clerk, please call roll.
Roll call. Burrows,
Aye.
Burns, Ramirez.
Aye.
Hill, Kane, Lopez,
Aye.
Davis,
Aye.
Bynum.
Aye.
Motion carries.
Thank you, committee. We'll reconvene in the chambers at 7 p.m.